What's up, y'all? Oh. That's live for you. What is up, y'all? It is your girl, Sarah from Sarah Styles. I am going live today with Nina from Last Quarter Shop. If you're watching this video with this or you are new to my channel, let me move my phone. Is your phone by you, Nina?
I'm sorry?
Is your phone close by? I'm getting like feedback. Like, yeah. Or
I have my computer on, but there's no volume on it.
Yeah, that seems.
Okay, let me get off. Is that better now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, sorry about that.
Oh, no, it's okay. That's what a live is all about. We're learning as we go. I am a reseller on various different platforms, which means I am buying things from the thrift store when they're open from the thrift store and reselling them for profit on platforms such as PoshMark and eBay. I also do data analytics. My YouTube channel and Instagram are dedicated to helping you look at your data to meet your monetary goals. And then I also have panels on here to learn all about reselling and learn all of the things. I have two dashboards for resellers. One is for all platforms. You can look at your sales and various different strategies on Poshmark that work for you. And then an inventory dashboard that you can do. Links for all of that stuff is down below, as well as for probably the next month, depending on how the quarantine goes, I am doing a 50% off of the dashboard because now is the perfect time since you cannot be out shopping and sourcing to look at your data and figure out what is working for you and try and make more efficient business practices. Or if you start sourcing online, it can help you decide what to source. So that being said, I'm going to pop on over. It looks, my husband is here. If you guys don't notice, he's always here. I can't say his name. It's some dorky comic name. So hello, Nick. And then Michelle. I'm trying to keep all the names right. I think Gordo Momley is Michelle. Do you know Nina? Isn't that Michelle?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So, hey, Michelle, she has a different name on all the platforms. I'm trying. So today I am here with Nina from Last Quarter Shop. She has been on my channel before, but I'm going to let you introduce, or I'll introduce her again in case this is your first time watching. She is a full-time reseller from Texas, Houston, I believe. Houston. We were just talking about it. So she is from Houston. She is a full-time reseller, but she also does a lot of liquidation and has done it in the past. And so I have brought her on to talk to us a little bit about how liquidation works and all of the things to think about when you're doing liquidation. She did a couple posts on Instagram and I was like, I want to know more. I mean, and it was even like a series, but there's so much information. So come with questions and ready to learn with Nina. I'm going to let her explain, and she doesn't have her name there, but she is Nina from Last Quarter Shop. Explain a little bit about her name and how she came up with Last Quarter, and then also how she got into reselling.
Okay. All right. So how I got my name, I know most people think it's a monetary value, but it's actually it comes from my love of space, because I'm a huge space geek, and I wanted something that was space related. So I chose Last Quarter for Last Quarter Moon, and spiritually speaking, it represents letting go, release, and forgiveness. And I kind of brought that into reselling because in the beginning, you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and you still make mistakes. I mean, I've been doing this for 4 years and I still make mistakes. Like last year, I sent off 2 items and I accidentally switched them. And then, and then you're going to have bad reviews sometimes, and you have to learn to just let those things go.
Yeah, for sure.
Release all the bad feelings that come from that, and then forgive yourself for making mistakes. So that I know that's a long explanation, but Last Quarter Moon pretty much represents that and how I feel about reselling and how it kind of merges all together.
No, and I think it's perfect because it's hard in any business that you run. Like it all falls on you. And so it's hard to not take it all personally, especially like with the reviews. It's hard to not let it roll off your back. And if you're getting a lot of bad reviews, then probably like think about your business practice. But you can't please everyone. You're not always going to please everyone. And it's hard to not like take it personal and kind of just like let it roll off your back. Or yes, okay, so you switched items once in 6 months. Like things happen. I think it is a good, I mean, it's a great name and probably helps you kind of stay in check with yourself. Like,
oh, definitely. Yeah.
So tell us, I'm going to check in with the chat a little bit. We have, Posh Like a Boss. He was on my live earlier this week. If you guys caught it, we talked about online sourcing, lots of really good information from there. And then also Kentucky Posher. Hey, Kentucky. Oh, yay, you finally made a live. She said she loves hearing the origin of people's names. So tell us a little bit, and I've had you on here before, so if you're watching this is a repeat. But for new people, tell us a little bit about how you kind of fell into reselling and doing it full time.
Well, about, let's see, back in 2014, because that's when I first got on Posh, but back in 2014 and a little bit before that, I guess you'd say about 2013, I was just selling local on apps like OfferUp, 5 Miles, and another app. I don't know if it's still around, but it's called Garage Sale. And I would sell on those, and that was just local. It was basically meet and pick up, and I did that for about a year, I would say. And then I kind of started feeling like this is not very safe to just be meeting strangers and, in places. So I wanted to find another way to do this. So I came across PoshMark and I was like, oh, okay, I can do everything online only. So I listed a coach wristlet, and then I forgot about it and didn't come back on Poshmark till 2016. So for 2 years, there was this, coach purse out there just sitting there.
Did you have a bunch of like people responding, asking questions? Are you one of those people where like I ask a question and they just never get back to you?
I actually no, because I think back then I'm pretty sure you could still comment, but there was no like offers offers to likers. There were no offers from buyers. It was pretty much it was straight sell.
Yeah.
Back then. So it sat there, and luckily no one bought it. No one paid any attention to it because I had one thing sitting there for 2 years. And then I came back in 2016. And that's when I started thrifting and started listing stuff consistently. And then about a year ago, I was laid off from my bank job, and I decided that I was going to try to do this full time.
And you do, and you're on eBay now too. So yeah. I feel like I probably had to have known that you started on Posh, but you were on my previous panel about eBay, and you're one of the people that I go to for eBay questions. So she knows her stuff on eBay as well. That was a great panel that we had. And I think I've told you this, I'm slowly starting to hate eBay less and less.
Yes, eBay is definitely a love-hate relationship. And right when you feel like, oh, I hate you so much, then something amazing happens. You love eBay for a little bit, and then you go back to hating eBay. And
yeah, that's kind of, yeah. And I've said this in a lot of my other videos. It's like a long-term relationship. I feel like you have to put the time and commitment in, and you have like these like little arguments that you're like, all right, but like make it work, Where Posh, I think you can just give it love for a night and you would get sales, and then you just go about your business if you wanted to.
Definitely.
All right. So let me check in. I'm trying to be better. I was on Queen Bee's chat, and she's really good about checking in with the chat. So I'm trying to be better about that. I did see Leslie from A Reseller's Podcast did pop in up there, as well as Ashley and Lacey. Thank you guys so much for joining. This is going to be a great session. Feel free to ask questions as you go. I have a couple things here. We're just going to chat about liquidation. So for people who do not know what liquidation is, can you kind of just give us a high level, like what we're going to be talking about and how liquidation would be a different kind of sourcing than maybe thrifting or whatever?
Oh, okay. Well, liquidation has many meanings, but as it pertains to reselling, it's basically buying in bulk, and then um, that's a I mean that's kind of like a basic definition, but then you go into different types of liquidation you can purchase, such as overstock, returns, and wholesale.
Okay, so wholesale falls under liquidation because that's I was always confused when people say wholesale and then liquidation, and I'm like,
Yeah, well, it does and it doesn't fall into liquidation, because sometimes it falls into there because you're getting wholesale from a brand who's who can go out of business, and then they're just liquidating assets, and they can and selling off um all of their unsold or um unsold inventory, and also inventory that never went on the storefront. So
so a wholesale would be like if you are continuing to have that relationship like with a brand.
right.
And they're like trying to get rid of stuff, whether it's like last year's clearance or they're going out of business.
Yeah, like shelf pulls would be under like liquidation, or overstock as well. Overstock and wholesale kind of merge a little bit, but overstock is really it's more of anything that they bought but they didn't sell. So there's like, well, overstock. I mean, they're overstocked of an item, so they so instead of just throwing it out, they'll go ahead and sell it to a company, and that company will sell it to someone like me, you know, for they'll sell it like 100 pieces or 200 pieces or whatever it is, because they bought it from the store at a discounted price, and then they sell it for a even more discounted price.
So so it's like a third party that is selling. Like you're not buying directly from like Macy's. Macy's sells their stuff. I'm just making up a name. I don't know if Macy's.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Like they sell it to someone, and then that third party is then selling it to resellers, or because isn't that kind of how it gets into like TJ Maxx or Marshalls or something too?
Right. Yeah. Like some of their stuff that can't be resold at like Marshalls, TJ Maxx, and stores like that, what they'll do is sell it they'll sell it in bulk to a third party, which is like a liquidator. Like, for example, I know B&G is really popular right now. They're the only ones I can think of off the top of my head where I know that a lot of resellers have been buying inventory from them.
So B&G is it because I've heard of them. A lot of resellers talk about it, like actually what they are. They are like a liquidator. They're like a third party liquidator, and then resellers are buying stock from them.
Right, because more than likely they're getting stuff from Revolve, Nordstrom. I've seen. I think they have Macy's. They have a bunch of brands, but what they're doing is getting stuff from those stores that either have returns or overstock, or they're out of season, and they just buy it in bulk, and then they resell it to us.
Okay. Now, and this may be a silly question. They're probably all going to sound like silly questions to you, but
no, not at all.
So everything that you get is going to be new with tags, which is kind of a bonus. But in my mind, if it's not selling in stores for whatever reason, then how do you get it to sell, right? Like if Macy's can't sell it, then how am I, like itty bitty little Sarah, gonna sell it? And I know that you do. Like I'm not saying that you don't. Like tell us how does that work, and how do you decide?
Well, I think sometimes why it doesn't sell in store is mainly because sometimes they will go and they'll say, okay, this item should sell this much. Like, okay, just say for example, you have a dress. It's a Ella Moss dress, and they predict that 300 of those dresses are going to sell. And they say, okay, we'll make 300 because we think 300 are going to sell, or they'll make like 500 because they'll say, okay, we think 300 are going to sell, but we're going to make 500 just in case more sell. Well, what will happen is either they will sell most of that, or they will actually not sell as much as they think. So then they have to either clearance that in store, which is what happens most of the time. It gets put on a clearance rack and it's deeply discounted until, and once it's on the clearance racks, if it still doesn't sell, then that's when they go ahead and they throw it. I guess they place it somewhere and they start placing all those items in boxes that don't sell. And then they ship them off, and a third party liquidation company will buy those boxes. And usually by the time it gets to us, that means it's out of season, which doesn't mean it's not going to sell, and it's not bad. It's just a little bit older. But it's still
doesn't. Yeah. So oh, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, so like the store doesn't want to have old stuff just because
Right.
it will like constantly be changing over and look new, and like you can't have a dress on stock for too long. And so it's more about how they look in their business practice. Okay.
Exactly. Because any business doesn't want inventory sitting around for too long. I mean, us as resellers, we're like, oh my God, we've had this for 6 months, or we've had it for a year. I can't believe it hasn't sold, so that's the same thing stores go through, is that, but they actually set a timeline and say, well, it's going to go on sale today. We're only going to have it on the racks for say 3 months. And then we're going to clearance it out for another month or two. And then after that, we have to
move it out,
get rid of it, and make way for new inventory. So okay, that's when it ends up at the liquidation companies.
Okay. And that's, so Ashley is saying like they ordered too many, likely is what's happening, which makes sense. Cause in my mind, I'm like, well, if Macy's can't sell it, then why the hell do I think I'm going to be able to sell it? But that makes sense. They're like constantly growing and changing, and they don't want to have, things forever and seasonal, as resellers, we don't have, you should do some seasonal, but I'm still selling winter boots, and I'll buy winter boots in the summer if I find them. Okay. So let's get a little bit about how you got into liquidation and why you choose to do it, as opposed to, because you started thrifting,
right?
And you still thrift a little, right?
Yes. I still thrift, and well, especially with, I haven't gotten to thrift much, especially with the the pandemic coming through. So, but I have gone back to thrifting for a little bit. But I did get into liquidation. It was actually a year ago. Yeah, I first got into liquidation a year ago. I started Googling all like liquidation Houston to see what I came up with. And there was one company that I was interested in, and I went there, but they didn't really have much. They had cases, or what you call boxes, of different stuff, but it was pretty much like socks or white t-shirts. It was like more surplus, or like wholesale, where they were just getting their stuff like wholesale, like white shirts and stuff. So it wasn't really what I was looking for. And then I called around to a couple places to see if they had like boxes from like Macy's, Nordstrom, stuff like that. And I finally found one place that actually let me go and look at the boxes. They had Nordstrom return boxes. They didn't have Nordstrom like overstock or shelf pulls, which are usually seasonal pulls. When it's out of season, they pull it off the shelves and then they liquidate it. They didn't have those. They had returns. So I took a chance on that. I looked through the box. I got to look through the box, which was really helpful because I like to see what I'm getting. I didn't want to just take a chance online because I know there's several different companies out there. I still haven't tried them, but I felt safe being able to look at the box and saying, hey, I know what I'm getting in front of me. And I went with that. And for the last year, I've been going to that company and getting a box or two, and each box would have like 100, between 100, 110 items in there. And then at the end of the year, beginning of the year, or actually at the beginning of the year, I wanted to go back and get more, and they actually said that they weren't selling very well, so they weren't going to get any more. But they said to check back in. So this would be around the time that I would be checking them. But unfortunately, with everything going on, I haven't been able to check and see if they got anything in, which is not likely anyways with
what's going on,
everything being shut down.
So you were doing return liquidation. Are they,
Yeah.
I mean, was there like flaws in them and stuff, or was it just like stuff that people returned and they still had tags and they just didn't like it or didn't fit or whatever?
Yeah, almost like I would say like 98% of it was new with tags. The only thing is it was clearance tags, but it still said it still said Nordstrom rack on it, or Nordstrom. Sometimes those tags weren't on there, but the actual tags from the brand were on there. But yeah, about 98% of the stuff still had tags on it. It was all new with tags. Now, there's a risk when buying returns. Some of the stuff does have stains on it. Missing buttons. I've run into. I had a zipper problem with one at one time, and I would say out of each box, there was probably between 10 and 15 items that I had to wash or try to fit.
You wash it with tags.
I'm sorry?
How do you wash it with tags on it?
What I would do is get dish soap and water, and I would soak the part of it that was stained and leave the tags out hanging.
Okay.
And then once I did that, I would leave it soaking, and that usually worked. And then I would also go, I mean, if it was like a small stain, like it wasn't a big deal, I would just get a Tide pin and go over it and get it off. And then like what's also really common with returns is deodorant stains.
Yeah.
That's a real common thing. So those I did have to also wash, which is pretty easy to get off, but you don't, you want to try to get all that off.
Yeah, for sure. Especially if you're selling it as new with tags, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't, yeah. Okay.
Definitely.
So to get into it, I mean, because I've heard that it's really hard to find places that liquidate and to like get into it. And you legitimately just like Googled places around you and called them and they let you come.
Yeah.
I mean, because everything that I've heard is like, no, like you can't get into it. And it's like this big secret kind of underground.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I thought when I first started searching around, was like, oh, it's this big secret and no one tells you how to do it or get into it. Now, no one's going to tell you their source, because it did take work to finally find a source that was good. And now I'm not even sure if I have that source anymore, but it does take work. I mean, I did go to a place before I found this one, and then I did call and I would just ask, do you have boxes of Nordstrom, which is what I like to buy, like, do you have a Nordstrom box? A lot of places do have Macy's. I've told a couple people, yeah, the best way to do is just Google, like if you live in Denver, Google liquidation Denver, and you'll probably find a couple of warehouses that sell liquidation boxes, like boxes or pallets.
Yeah, I've heard.
Um, but it also depends on where you live. I know Houston's very industrial, so we have a lot of exports and imports, especially with our ship channel and everything. So different areas are going to provide different things. I know I had I did have a question from one person. I think she was from Denver, and she was telling me that she tried to Google places, and she could only find like Target Target boxes and Walmart.
Oh.
So
I have a friend here who does pallets, and she gets them from, I don't know her source or anything, but she lives here, and it's like Macy's or Nordstrom's or one of those. I don't know how to,
okay.
but I know that she does. It's like her whole garage, because you have to buy like large quantities.
Oh wow. But yeah, I mean they're definitely out there if you just do your research and just call around and ask. I mean, it doesn't hurt to just call these places when you find them and say, "Hey, do you get boxes of this?"
Yeah.
Whatever you want. I mean,
So
it's not
all of the retail stores have a liquidation, like any, like you like I don't know, American Eagle or something. Like all of them are going to have liquidation. Like if you have a specific, or how do they, or is it just the department stores?
I don't know if all of them do liquidation, because I'm not sure how a lot of places get rid of inventory, but I know that the main ones I've seen as far as liquidation is Macy's. That's a big one. Like every liquidation warehouse or online liquidators I've seen, they all have Macy's. That seems to be the biggest one, like Macy's, and then Nordstrom. Not everywhere is going to have Nordstrom, but I do see it common. I've seen, let's see what else. Target and Walmart are also huge, but I don't think resellers are often looking for Target or Walmart. I think Walmart or Target liquidation is probably going to be better for people selling on eBay, which are selling hard goods, because you can get from eBay. I mean, not eBay, from Target or Walmart, you could probably get like large quantities of I don't know, like clocks, or or something like that, and sell them, like large quantities of I don't know, like soap, and you can sell them on eBay for cheap, just stuff like that, which is also a good thing to look in, because liquidation warehouses will have hard goods too. You can sell on eBay. I know you can sell some home goods on PoshMark. I still don't know what's clear on what you can sell and not sell on PoshMark, but
I have it on there. Women's clothing. I know.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So as you were talking, do you have to, as you're doing this, I feel like, and Ashley said it's a secret society, and it's very much that way. I feel like no one wants to share anything, and it's hard to get into when people are very secret about it. So I do want to thank you for coming on and chatting about it. But do you have to have like a special license, or like for people to even talk to you on the phone and for you to buy from them, do you have to like show them something, or you can just be like, hey, I'm walking off the street and now sell me all your things?
Sometimes I would say it's sometimes they won't talk to you without a reseller license, and there's a different and there's different names for it. It just depends on what state you're in. Mine is called a Texas Sales and Use Tax Permit. I have it hanging up right here so I can look at it. And I know in some states it's called a wholesale certificate, a reseller certificate, reseller license,
It's a reseller.
resale tax. Yeah, there's a bunch of different names for it, but some liquidation companies won't talk to you without one. And they're actually really good to have because most company, well, when you have one, you can avoid paying sales tax on the items, which
Oh,
helps
so
you
when
in
you're buying
resale.
them. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Because I know I've talked to B&G about purchasing a half pallet. Their half pallet comes with 275 items, and I was interested in their half pallet returns. And I talked to them, and it was going to come out to be, I think it was like 999 plus tax. And I told them, I said, if I have a reseller license, can you take off tax? And they said, yeah, we can go ahead and do that. We can give you a code to take off tax. And so most companies like that will actually take off the tax if you have a license. And it's a good thing because now inventory is essentially being taxed twice. It's being taxed once when we buy it,
Yeah.
and then when it sells, it's being taxed a second time, which is pretty tough on the reseller side. I mean, it's made it a little complicated, not for us so much, but
if you can save, especially, and that's one of the questions I wanted to ask if you're willing to share numbers, because you have to buy them in large quantities. And you're talking a half pallet was $1,000. And so that's kind of, and I just grabbed my phone because I wanted to see like your average cost.
Yeah.
Per item, because I'm thinking like new attack things, you're probably spending a lot, but based off of the quick math that you just told me, it's like $3 an item. Is that sound about right? Well, hot damn, that's why people do this. New attacks for $3 an item.
Yeah.
So the big risk in that is you're paying. I mean, what's the smallest lot that you've bought? 100?
Yeah, like the 100 and something, like where I got like 100 to 110 items. Yeah, I'll go ahead and say it. I would pay $500 for that.
For 100 items?
Yeah. So which comes out to be about $5.
Which is a very reasonable thrift store price, depending on what you're getting, and it's new attacks.
Right. Exactly. So for me,
well,
but like, so for me, the reward outweighed the risk, because there's a huge risk that you take when you're going to spend $500, $1,000 on can't speak, on inventory, and you don't know if you're going to make that back in a month. I mean,
but how many, I mean, and tell me to like mind my business when I ask too many numbers, because I'm a number person, and not everybody wants to share it. But like, I mean, I'm thinking new with tag items, so you're not selling them for like $15. I mean, depending on what you're picking up, I guess.
Right.
You're probably selling them for higher. So if you're getting like $500, you're spending $500 and you're selling them for like 30. I just did the math. If you'd have to sell like 16 of them if they're selling for $30 an item to make that money back. That seems reasonable.
Right.
That's the break even, right? So obviously you want to make money.
Right.
But that seems reasonable. So Ashley's asking, how did you get your reseller's license?
How I did it, and like I said, each state is going to be different, but here in Texas, all I had to do was I typed it in and I Googled reseller license Texas, and there was actually a website I could go to that the state of Texas has. And I went on there and I actually applied for the reseller license. There was a small fee. I want to say it was no more than $30 to get it. And I mean, I got it quickly. Got it within two weeks or less than that. So really, you just have to go through your state and figure out how to get it.
In Colorado, I've looked into it and haven't done it, but that's how it is here. You just apply online, and it's a very nominal fee. Although I've heard different states charge quite a bit for it, because there's some places that don't. I don't remember the whole. There's some places that don't charge tax, so a lot of people go there to do it. So then they are charging you extra to get all of these licensing, so that because they have to make their money some way.
Yeah.
Even I want to say Las Vegas does that.
Oh, I'm pretty sure.
Las Vegas is a city. Nevada is but so I think, yeah, it definitely depends. And I get so interested in the conversations. There are people joining us. If you guys have questions, let us know. If you, Best Offer Queen said that she loves liquidation. So if you have anything to add to the liquidations too, sourcing spots or tips, as you're on the chat, I get so interested in the host that I sometimes forget. Oh, we have other people too. So, so pricing wise, that was one of the questions that I wanted to ask too, was the risk. And one of the big risks that I can think of is you are spending a lot of money upfront.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Oh no, I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, it is a substantial amount of money, and in the beginning, I kind of knew like, okay, I'm not going to make this money back right away. I know this, so I have to plan on pretty much, sitting on this for a little while. But it actually helped me in the long run, because I mean, when you're spending $500 on new with tags items, and you're getting brands like Burberry, I would get brands like Burberry, Tory Burch, Kate Spade, stuff like that. I mean, I can easily turn those over for a big profit. I mean, for example, I sold, I remember that I sold a, what is the brand? Now I can't remember. I know it was a like swim cover, like a basic swim cover that went for $75, because it was a certain brand name, and now I can't remember what brand name it was. Of course. No, but I mean, like, I would sell things, $70 to $100, and you can make a quick profit like that, but it just takes time to build up, especially when before that I was just solely thrifting. So it took some time to not only list these items and turn a profit, but you're essentially changing your entire store or closet, so your niche kind of changes as well, and that also takes time to get people adjusted to, because you're no longer selling what you were selling before.
Right, which makes sense. So as far as like research goes and stuff and how you look at it, you said sometimes you don't even get to see it. So you're spending $500, $1,000 on a box that you don't see. I mean, is that, well, P&G you mentioned, and I know you haven't done there, but some of them, like you had mentioned that you got to look at the box. Is that not normal?
For the most part, like B&G, you don't know what you're really getting. They say, oh, you're gonna get these brands, but you really don't know what you're getting, because I know when I looked at it, it was 275 pieces, and they've kind of changed it now, because at one time it was a half pallet of Nordstrom returns. But then when I looked at it recently, they said you'll get 75 pieces at least from, they now have it marked differently, where they have it like in tiers. They have your premier brands, and then they have like mid value, and then like your, I guess, lower end would be like Macy's. I guess like premier to them is the like Revolve, Nordstrom, and then mid value for them, I guess, is Urban Outfitters and some other stuff, and then you go, or Macy's, I guess, would be, and then you just kind of go down. So I've noticed that they've changed it, but what I mean is, like, in the beginning, I felt like I was just breaking even. I was buying these boxes and just breaking even in the beginning, because I felt like, well, I have to build up. I have to give it some time to build up. I mean, eventually I was turning a good profit. It's just it's tough in the beginning because you're spending so much money, and you're like, okay, am I going to make this back? How's it going to go?
Yeah.
So you definitely will make your money back. Um, it's just it's going to take a little bit of time. I mean, it's not going to happen like, oh, I have 100 items, I'm going to list all this, and then I'm going to make $3,000 in a month.
Yeah. But I feel like that's any business. And for like when I first started, I was doing that thrifting where any profit that I was making, I was going in and buying more inventory because you have to like get going and be listing all the time and have, I mean, if you only have 10 items for sale, like you can't turn a huge profit
Yeah.
into that no matter how big the margin is. And so I feel like any business, especially in the beginning, you have to invest everything into it. I mean, for this liquidation, you're doing it in large quantities. But I will tell you, there has been days that I have thrifted all day and spent $500. So, I mean, it's not just a big investment for the pallets, but 500 seems like one of the, because that's for a smaller box. So people who are doing like pallets, you're talking like thousands and thousands.
Right. Well, yeah, like the pallet, well, full pallets are usually like they can be like 1,000 items, but the pallet I was looking at from B&G, which is their half pallet, it's 275 items, and I'm still debating on it. It's really something that I'm like, I want to get back into liquidation, but I'm also scared to try a new place. I would rather wait for, all this current stuff to be over with and try my source that I had to see if they have anything new. I mean, maybe they'll go under because of this. I really don't know what's going to happen after this, but I liked my source mainly because I would go over there and they would open the box and I could look through it, which actually goes back to your question you had earlier. Like,
Oh, yeah.
because, yeah, I went way off track. No, actually, sometimes online, certain liquidation companies will actually have a what's called a manifest, and it will list everything inside of the pallet or the box.
Oh, that's nice. Because I would be scared to not be able to see it too.
Exactly, and that's why I have some reservations about B&G, because I've seen some really good reviews and then I've seen some really bad reviews, and they don't list what they're putting in the pallets, so that makes me a little bit iffy. And the companies that generally provide a manifest will ask you for a reseller license. So companies that deal like that usually are more strict about who they sell to.
Yeah. So can you choose like what types of stuff you're getting? Like I like purses and shoes. Can you buy like just purses, or is it just like here's everything and I'd have to get like tops and pants with it too?
No, actually, yeah, you can choose what you get. At the place I was getting my stuff from, they actually had boxes of shoes from Nordstrom, and I thought about getting shoes, but shoes are a little bit more costly, mainly because you're going to make more money off shoes.
Which is why I like selling shoes and purses.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
the list.
yeah. I mean, generally people make more money off of shoes, so it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but I was so tempted a couple of times because I would see brands and they're like shoes, like Tory Burch shoes, Fry boots.
Yeah.
And but they weren't in great condition because I think they were returns as well.
So then you're buying used kind of in some instance.
Yeah, but you can definitely find pallets or cases of shoes. I mean, I've seen cases of just purses. I remember going to my source and seeing like 3 boxes full of purses. It was just, but it was all the same brand. I remember seeing Dana Buckman purses, and I was like, I was like, no, nobody wants that.
No, I don't know that thrift store. Raging Loon says bulk BULQ has a pretty detailed manifest. I'm doing that something to you. I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, I've heard of bulk before. I haven't really checked them out. I forgot about bulk. That's a good company to look up, especially if they have a manifest that's really detailed, because that will tell you exactly what you're getting, and you definitely feel better if you know exactly what you're getting. It's not just a mystery pallet.
Yeah, no, and I would not, like, I won't even buy a mystery box from someone I know on PoshMark because I'm like, and it's like $30, and I'm like, I have to know everything that I get. However, I am going to say, and I don't know if Nina is currently running any of these, she does mystery boxes with some of these items, and I have heard amazing reviews on her mystery boxes. So definitely follow her on Instagram for when she does those. If you don't have a liquidation source, you maybe not be doing them currently. Yeah. I'm giving a shout out because I've heard great things about your mystery boxes.
Yeah, for I did that last year and it was really successful. I did like $70 new with tags. Nordstrom items was like 10 items for $70, and I mean, those went so quickly. And I was able to clear out a lot of inventory, and I was thinking, oh, I can keep doing this. And then my source went away and I had to go back to thrifting. So right now I'm just kind of like I'm in purgatory right now, trying to decide.
We all are, though. Like, I think we're all kind of right there with you.
Yeah, I mean, but for me, after this, I have to decide: do I go back to thrifting, or do I continue to try to do liquidation and find a new source? So it's gonna take more research, because, like I said, it's tough to find a source that you really like, and when you finally find one, you're like, oh my gosh, you're excited, and you keep going to them. And that was me. I was so excited. I found a place I could buy this, and then they were like, no, we're not gonna sell it anymore.
So let's talk a little bit about the risk and the downside, because right now I want to go find a liquidation box right now. Like, you have talked me into this is the best thing ever. But with everything, I'm sure there's a lot of risk. And I think one of them definitely is the price up front. But if there's any other risk that because you said you're debating between doing liquidation or thrifting. So kind of talk to us about the risk and why you want to continue to do liquidation.
Well, with liquidation, it's the cost, of course. I mean, that's a huge risk, but then there's also a lot of upfront costs that you that I didn't know about. Like, one thing with liquidation, they're sending you, or you're buying new with tags pieces. One thing I didn't realize was that because they're new with tags and they were basically pulled off the shelf or the racks and thrown in a box, is that a lot of the pieces still had security tags on them. And so I had to scour the internet to find a security tag remover, which wasn't easy. I did finally find one on eBay, and it wasn't cheap. And then I learned, and then I had to learn all this knowledge about security tag removers. They have like a certain weight limit. There were so many things that I had to look at. And I ended up having to spend, I think it was like, I want to say it was like between $40 and $50 just for a security tag remover. I actually have it right here. So I bought this. I found it on eBay. I looked on Amazon first, but Amazon doesn't carry them it's for the reason that, people can essentially use these to steal.
Yeah, right.
But that was an added cost. And that was something that I just didn't think about really. I was just all excited, like, oh, here's this box of new tag stuff, and I'm gonna sell this and do great. But then there was that. So that's another thing is you end up having to spend even more money up front, and then also with depending on what kind of liquidation you buy, there's a risk. I did returns, and I think we covered this earlier, that some of the items will have stains. Some of them did have holes in them, which I couldn't fix. Buttons are missing. So with that, because I don't know how to sew, I had to take it to the cleaners and get it fixed. So there's even more money when you have to take things to the cleaners to get fixed. And then some items you just can't, you can't fix them. You can't do anything about them. The stain's too bad. So they're basically just thrown out. I know in one box, I mean, the thing was, some boxes were really, really great in that I probably only had maybe 5 pieces that I had to throw out. But then some other boxes were really bad where I had like 10 to 15 items where I had to throw out. So then that actually raises the cost that you are paying for each item. So that's a huge risk as well, is that even you're spending a lot of money up front, and then you may end up actually spending more at the very end. So that's a risk you have to weigh as well with that, because some items in the box are not going to be fixable and you can't save them. So you just have to throw them out, or not throw them out. I don't want to say throw them out, because I don't throw my stuff in the trash. I put them in a bag and I take them to Goodwill.
Right. So then another reseller is buying these new tags and is so excited.
And then they find the hole.
Yeah. I was going to ask a question though, and I can't remember. I don't remember. If anybody has anything to share, we are kind of running low on time here. So if anyone in the comments has anything to share or specific questions for Nina, this has been very eye-opening for me. And now, of course, I just want to get into liquidation. So we're in the midst of moving, so I'm not doing any kind of working right now. But I think it is a good option, and why I actually wanted to have you on right now, because people are going to start looking online, depending on how long stores are closed for as well. Oh, my question was, I don't know why it's doing that. My question was, you know what happens to the liquidation? Like if people don't buy it, then does it go to landfills?
I honestly,
thrifting that I like is like you're saving items too, right? So there's that aspect of it.
And I honestly don't know where it goes after it. Okay, because it starts in the store, like say it starts at Macy's, and then after that, it if it doesn't sell or it gets pulled off the shelf, then it gets sent to a liquidator. But if it doesn't sell there, I honestly don't know what they do with it. I would have to ask them the very next time I go to my source. I will actually ask, because I plan on going as soon as this is all over. The first thing I'm going to do is go over there and see, because they actually had one box left. And every time that I went over there, it was still the same box. I was looking for more boxes, but that same box was always there. So I'm going to go back when this is all over. And then I will actually go ahead and ask, like, hey, if things don't sell here, do they just sit here? Because that one lonely box has been sitting there for, it was sitting there since last year. But, I'll ask them, like, do y'all donate it? Do y'all, throw it away? What happens to it? That's a good question. I'll have to ask them.
Because that's one of, I mean, I'm not a huge environmentalist by any means, but I do like the aspect of being able to give things new life. And so I wonder kind of how that works with liquidation. If anyone in the comments knows the answer to that, or if you're watching the recording of this, leave comments down below. We are wrapping up to about an hour. So if there's anything else, I think we covered most of what I wanted to talk about. But if there's anything else, Nina, that you wanted to share that I didn't touch on, sorry.
No, I mean, I just want to tell everyone, I mean, feel free to shoot me a message. I feel bad because I actually have a message in my inbox that has been sitting there for a while. Like, um, just with all this craziness and going on, I put Instagram on the back burner. I mean, I think today was the first day in a long time that I actually went and comment on people's posts and everything. But if you have any questions, please feel free to message me, and I promise I will get back to you as soon as possible and not leave you hanging.
Well, and I don't think that you're the only one that has done that. I have noticed that my views on YouTube and kind of my stats on Instagram have gone down. I think people just are taking a break from everything right now. And I've had some of those this week as well, where we were talking before the chat, where I was just like, I just want to go lay in bed. Why is
Yes.
a 2-year-old still yelling at me? Like, take him to grandma's house. So the Liquidation King LA sounds like he probably knows his stuff based off of his name. VIA Trading in California does medium and large lots up to truckloads of various items, has cases for about $2 an item in clothing. Bulk prices are increasing, still a good source for cosmetic and low-end shoes. That's good to know. And so I'm wondering, have you, or he can answer it, or she, I guess I'm assuming King. VIA Trading, is that only like if you're in California, or is that something that you could get shipped as well? I'm wondering.
Yeah, I've never heard of VIA, or maybe I have, like, briefly. Like, a lot of these companies that they're naming, I've actually heard of, but I haven't done much research on them. Just because,
a source, like,
huh?
I said, if you already had a source, you were
going. Yeah, exactly. Like, but I mean, while I had a source, I would also research these companies. Like, oh, maybe I should get some stuff from them. But it's, I would say it's definitely scary trying to do all this online, like everything online. It was easier for me because I could actually physically go to this place and see what I was getting.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I know B&G, I don't know if they're still doing it, but they were doing like a lot of influencer review type packages. And so that was a good way to kind of get an idea. Although I've heard that their free ones that they're doing kind of as promotions weren't as good as the paid ones. Just what I've heard through the grapevine. I have absolutely no basis for that, minus what I've seen on social media. Leslie from A Reseller's Passion says, hey ladies, this is great information. And I agree. I think liquidation is kind of a secret society, like Ashley mentioned. And so I'm really grateful that you came on and shared all of your knowledge and your numbers. A lot of people don't like to talk about their numbers. So I really appreciate you coming on and chatting about that. I am going to wrap it up for the sake of time, unless anyone else has anything to say. I think we're probably good. Yeah. Thank you so much. If you are watching this in the recording, definitely leave comments down below. You can DM me for questions that you have, or Nina directly. Like she said, we all have to take breaks on Instagram. So if you don't hear from her, she will get back to you. I am positive of that. We connected on Instagram first. Have some patience with people during this time is kind of chaotic for all of us. If you like content like this, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Give me a thumbs up on the way out. Leaving comments down below also helps me get ranking so that my videos get more views. So if you enjoy this content and you think other people would as well, make sure to leave a comment down below so I can get ranked and more people can watch. I lost my train of thought. I had like a whole spiel that I do. Train of thought. I try and do one of these lives a week. If there is a certain live topic that you would like to see, let me know. You can leave a comment here or send me a DM on Instagram. If there's something that you would like to come on this channel and talk about, send me a DM. You do not have to have a million followers to have good information. You don't have to be a big influencer and a big name to have good information. This is absolutely what this channel is about, is sharing all of the information. I'm doing all the hard upfront work of having a YouTube channel Let's have great conversations together. And I do want to say, Michelle said Nina has the best boxes ever. And Michelle
Thank
also said
you.
my dashboards are awesome. So Michelle, corner. We do love Michelle. She has great, her closet is amazing. I'm going to ask her to leave her closet name here because she has different names on all the different venues. So that is it for tonight. Today is Friday. Is it Friday?
Friday. Yes. It's Friday.
And then Sarah,
All the days.
yeah, this girl that I follow on Instagram posted yesterday, in case you wondered, it's Wednesday. And then it got me really confused because I was like, I think it's Thursday. And she was like, oh yeah, I don't even know. Anyway, so that is it. I am doing tomorrow. So if you're watching this live or tomorrow night, I am doing a reseller happy hour. You don't have to drink, but you're more than welcome to bring a cocktail, and we will all just kind of gather on my YouTube live and chat. The software that I use, you can only have 6 people, and it is a first come, first serve basis. So if you would like to join that chat live, send me a DM on Instagram 10 minutes before 6 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. And the first 6 people to do that are going to be the people that will be joining me live. However, you are more than welcome to join us in the chat live. Bring a drink, alcoholic non, whatever you prefer, and we can just have some time to connect. There will be absolutely no agenda except for connecting with other people during these uncertain self-quarantine times. So I hope everyone has a good night, and thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Thanks.